The Uncharted novel is an adaptation of the film adaptation of the hit video game series. Now, I am a huge fan of the Uncharted game series as a whole, and in doing so, when the film released and prior to its release with the trailers and everything, it looked solid. I actually enjoyed that they cast Tom Holland as Nathan Drake, albeit he's half the age of Nathan Drake in the games, but I think that his character, his acting, and everything fits the character well. Mainly, the only gripe I had against the Uncharted film was Mark Wahlberg being cast as Sully, and I don't have anything against Mark Wahlberg. I enjoy a couple of his films, Four Brothers and The Lovely Bones. But the thing is, those are just about the only two films that he actually acts in. I mean, he's funny in the other guys, but even in the other guys, he just plays Mark Wahlberg. Outside of Four Brothers and The Lovely Bones, Mark Wahlberg just plays as Mark Wahlberg in every single film. And that's what he did in the Uncharted film as well. The dialogue and the written lines that he was given, they were very Sully-esque. And I did enjoy the writing in the film. Now with the novel, the novelization is basically the film adapted into a book. And if you follow my reviews, if you watched my Uncharted review, you'll know that I did enjoy the Uncharted film. I enjoyed the whole adventure. I enjoyed the chemistry between each actor. The story itself, the characters, they were all wonderfully written, I would say. The only two gripes I had with the Uncharted film and the story was Mark Wahlberg's casting and the whole third act. The whole third act was garbage. Now, in the novelization, hands down, it takes care of the Mark Wahlberg problem. You don't even have to think about Mark Wahlberg when you're reading the novelization of the film. Just think Uncharted 3 and Uncharted 4 Sully, and boom, that took care of that problem immediately. So because of that, the Uncharted novelization gained an additional point for me. And the Uncharted novel actually takes some cues from the likes of The Witcher and Game of Thrones storytelling. So the structure of the novel is chapter to chapter, and each chapter is based around one area based in the film. But within each chapter, you have stopping moments where it's actually point of view sections. So one section would be Nathan Drake's, another section would be Sully's, another section would be Chloe's, even sections for Moncada and Braddock, and I really enjoyed reading the Uncharted novelization that way. I really enjoyed that. I thought that was a great storytelling device that they put into the novelization. The writing was mostly fine in the novel. There are some grammatical errors, I'd say at least every chapter, but they're nothing. They're not nearly as terrible as some of the grammar errors that I've encountered in other book series. I still have two gripes for the Uncharted novel, though. The third act is still just garbage. By the time the third act started, I knew what I was going into for the reading portion, and it was essentially that with more detail, but defies logic, just like in the film. I appreciated the attention to detail in characterizations, character moments, where people are, where everybody is. Like I said, the POV sections in each chapter, but the whole third act is just garbage as a general statement. Another thing I actually didn't like about the novelization compared to the film, the video games were always rated T. They weren't kid-friendly per se, but they weren't like specifically just for adults. The Uncharted series has always been a get along, fun adventure where everybody can have fun playing through, and parents wouldn't really need to worry about kids playing it other than, foul language up to shit and bitch. In the novelization, they use the F word in substitution of better writing. That's what I got out of that. They put in F word where they could have actually just enunciated what they were trying to explain. Like, for example, in the novelization, another thing I appreciated was that they would get into the minds of every character in the story. And I really like that when novels do that, especially when it's an adaptation of something, because you get to experience more of who the character is, getting inside of their head and everything. The problem is that when you would be inside of their head, what they're thinking, whenever you would think of a clever line about to be unleashed, like Nathan Drake is always a cleverly written character in the games and in the film, but more so in the games. In the novelization, in substitution of a cleverly written joke at somebody's expense, they just say, F that. And I understand they were going for an adultish, more mature writing style. I get that. It just doesn't work for Uncharted, especially when it's an Uncharted book adapted from multiple series and sources. So while I appreciated that you were able to replace Mark Wahlberg in your head with the actual Sully character, the book itself still has two big issues, just like the film did. Now, with that being said, the novelization is actually better than the film itself. The film is actually pretty good on its own. I really like the whole pseudo-prequel, pseudo-Uncharted 4 retelling. But the novelization is just all around better because it tells the same story, but it adds layers to the character-to-character moments and just scene-for-scene moments. Albeit the excessive use of foul language and just the whole third act is just garbage still. So overall for me, the film Uncharted was a 7. For the longest time reading the novelization, I was really rooting for a 9 out of 10 until I started getting just kind of tired of all of the foul language that was in substitution for cleverly written dialogue. So the Uncharted novelization, I would still give an 8 out of 10. Thank you.